So we're going to come back to this activity in order to look at another way of looking at digestion. So far in the other videos we've been talking by region, what happens in each region. Here we're talking about, okay, well, let's talk about the nutrients. Let's talk about what happens to the carbohydrates. Where does each step take place in the breakdown? As you go from a complex polysaccharide to a monosaccharide. Okay? So, we talked about what happens in the mouth. We talked about, well, no extra enzymatic action happens in the esophagus. So then we talked about what happened in the stomach. So the next spot is the small intestine. But all digestion is done by the end of the small intestine. So the rest of these things must happen in the small intestine. Might as well write it all out. Oh, sorry. Don't let me change much there for some reason. I'll make it green and center it. There. Okay. So, this must happen in the small intestine, and this must happen in the small intestine. And the enzymes that might do this may come from the pancreas, or they may come from the intestine itself. But the action takes place in the small intestine. Okay? Now, what enzymes did we talk about? We said, okay, well, the disaccharides are acted on by disaccharase. What, darling? What, Charlie?
Look, I got.
Oh, you got treats. Did Daddy give you those?
No. It was
spelled it wrong.
Matt's room.
Oh, from Mac's room. Were you sneaking?
They were in my room, but they were his. Remember, he put them down.
Okay.
And I got them right back.
Disaccharases. Okay, well, something has to act in here. Now, was there any other amylases, maybe? Amylase from the pancreas. That's right. Pancreatic amylase. I should have done this, having a list of the enzymes so you could drag and drop them, but maybe another video. Not for this one. Okay. It's being finicky. Okay, so there's the carbohydrates. They're acted on in the mouth by salivary amylase that come from your salivary glands to be broken down. We could identify this a little more if you want. So these are complex large polysaccharides. It might help for you to understand it a little better. Oops. Okay. Dextrins. That's the special name that we give for the smaller polysaccharides. So when you're studying, it might help you to remember that. So in your word bank, you probably have dextrins, but not small polysaccharides. Okay, so you have carbohydrates are broken down into dextrins in the mouth, and then when they get to the small intestine, they're acted on by first pancreatic amylase to break them down into disaccharides, so 2 sugar units, and then by disaccharases to break them down into monosaccharides. There, carbohydrates are done. Now, if we look at the proteins, so in the stomach, they're acted on by pepsin, and it was secreted as pepsinogen first, but it had to be activated by the acidic environment of the stomach. So they're broken down from proteins, which are large polypeptides, into small polypeptides. And those small polypeptides will go in the chyme into the small intestine. In the small intestine, they're going to be broken down by the other enzyme that is kind of like pepsin. It's produced in the pancreas at an inactive form called trypsinogen. So when it's active, it gets activated in the small intestine by an enzyme. It is called trypsin. Okay? So trypsin makes those small polypeptides into peptides. And then the last enzyme that works are the ones that break down peptides. Oh, thank you, buddy. Thank you for the treat. Oh, you are so thoughtful. I love chocolate in the morning.
Yeah. I like it too.
You like it too.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Pancakes are an exception.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the enzymes that act on peptides are peptidases. Peptidases. Oops. And they are made both by the pancreas and by the intestine. Okay, so that's it for proteins. But digestion is done by the time we end the small intestine, so something had to happen with the fats. So we said, first, fats come in as fat globules because they don't like water. And they need to be pulled apart physically into fat molecules so that an enzyme can act on them to break them down into glycerol and fatty acids. So, let's see. All the rest of this stuff is chemical digestion except for this step here. So we're going to put maybe a star by that. Let me have shape. There we go. Star. We'll put a little star. And we'll make that star yellow. And we'll put down here. Physical digestion or mechanical. Either's fine. Okay, so that's what that star means, that step is physical. Maybe we can put a heart. The rest of them would all be chemical. Nope. So, this would be chemical, and this would be chemical. Anything that has an enzyme, they're all chemical. This is chemical. Everything else is chemical. Except for that step. Just going to move this over here out of the way. Okay, so nothing happened to the fats in the mouth and nothing happened in the stomach. So if all the digestion is done by the end of the small intestine, these two steps must happen in the small intestine, and they do. Okay. Fat globules are broken apart by bile salts into fat molecules. The bile salts will surround them. So we can say bile acts on them. We want this to be red. We will go blue since it's not an enzyme. Okay, it's acted on by bile to give you fat molecules. The fat molecules are going to be acted on by the enzyme that breaks down lipids. So, lip for lipids, lipases. So, lipases are red because they are an enzyme. So, all the ones with red, they involve an enzyme, so they are considered chemical digestion, indicated by the little hearts. The star indicates physical digestion. So the bile salts act by kind of surrounding and pulling apart the fat molecules. So that's it. I'm going to save this. And I'll put a copy on the website. So hopefully this would give you a study tool